off, please feel free to do so. We're always happy to send you the link so that way you can access this recording. But without further ado, I do want to introduce to you Chad Patton. He's going to be our presenter today. He works for Aetna. He is a broker manager there. He has a real good grip on this e-application, and he's going to be walking us through all of it and be able to answer all your questions. And we're very excited to be able to work with him today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand over the reins to Chad, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Thanks so much, Katie. Hello, everybody. My name is Chad Patton. I'm one of the broker reps here in the Heartland market. Heartland market is basically Kansas and the western half of Missouri, so that's the product specialty that I have, along with my teammates that you can see here on my screen. And my supervisor, Gail Meadows, she's in the Kansas City office, along with two other broker managers, Pat and Daryl. I am in the Air Capital here in Wichita, Kansas, and we also have some other counterparts listed there below. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about Ascend and all the capability that comes with using that program. It can be quite confusing. So I'm going to try to break it down in the most beneficial way I can. I assume most of you have the Ascend license, but for the chance somebody does not, let me show you real quick what Producer World looks like. It's Aetna.com/producer, and just like everything, there is a login. This is what Producer World looks like. It houses all of our subset categories of business. We're in Medicare, and so we always want to click on individual Medicare. Takes us to our quick links. The Ascend is a tool. We click on Tools. Tools are listed in alpha order. We click on Ascend Virtual Sales Office app, and we hit Request Access. Something to keep in mind, your email address, it will want to confirm that as your user ID once you log into the program. Since we're on Producer World and we're talking about all of the remote selling capabilities, I want to show another cool thing that's fairly new. It has to do with uploading a paper application. So let's just say you worked through the mail and got an application back in paper form. You're required to send that in as normal. You can actually scan in and upload your document. So if you want to avoid using a public fax machine, scan it in, upload your application right here. So this is a new option. Be aware of that. But we're talking about Ascend today. And the main focus of my presentation is going to be regarding the new rate tool. So let me open up this slide deck. And welcome to Aetna's Ascend Remote Agent Telephonic Enrollment functionality. We're going to refer to this as Remote Agent Telephonic Enrollment as RATE. That is what RATE stands for. RATE has functionality built within the Ascend application, and I'll demonstrate that here after this presentation, which allows you as the agent to complete an enrollment away from the beneficiary. All RATE enrollments must be completed in Ascend because all RATE calls are recorded. This protects both you and the beneficiary. The rate functionality is only available on iPad currently. That's going to change, so don't lose me. Don't drop off the webinar. We are getting this expanded to all Windows-based platforms sometime in the month of May. So that is a good new update that I just learned. The rate functionality will be available on Windows-based laptops. I'm using a laptop today. Once a compliant sales presentation has been conducted, the enrollment can be collected using the rate functionality. Rate is the enrollment collection process and will be conducted away from the beneficiary. So this is the enrollment process. It's not the presentation. That's done beforehand. Okay. You will also benefit from the rate functionality by simply scheduling an appointment time for the beneficiary to call into rate. You can conduct enrollments in the comfort of your own home or office and at the time of your own choosing. The following is the rate process. Each agent will be assigned a unique rate telephone number to share with their beneficiaries. It is important to note that these rate telephone numbers can only dial into rate. You will not be able to dial out on these numbers. You must be logged into the Ascend and have indicated that you are accepting calls in order to receive an inbound rate telephone call. If you are already in a meeting within Ascend, you will not be able to receive the rate incoming call. When your prospect calls, your iPad or starting next month, your Windows-based computer will ring like a telephone and you'll tap the button to receive the call. A recording will play to inform the beneficiary that the call is recorded for enrollment purposes, and you can then begin the enrollment process. If you have not marked yourself as accepting calls within the Ascend software, your beneficiary will hear a recording that states the representative could not be contacted at the time. Please try again. The beneficiary will be unable to leave a voicemail. That is why it is so important to schedule the call and mark yourself as accepting calls within the Ascend system. Here's a screenshot that shows you where you can see and indicate if you're accepting calls. Again, the rate functionality. Today, you're only going to find this on an iPad. More to come next month on the Windows-based computers. When your rate call comes in, your iPad will ring just like a telephone, like I said, and you'll click answer call. And it'll begin the enrollment process. Once answered, you can click mute if you would like by clicking the talking button. To unmute, click the talking button again. Once your rate enrollment is complete, please click on the hang up button and your rate recording of the enrollment will automatically be uploaded. And it's not like we're recording these to listen in on your presentation skills. This is just for compliance purposes. As long as you stick to the script that's provided, you'll be just fine. There are differences between in-person enrollment requirements and rate enrollment requirements. For rate, you will utilize the script, which can be found within the Resources tab within Ascend. And you must also get a clear verbal agreement, which must be captured on the rate recording. That will signify as the verbal signature for the enrollment. Also, while you're conducting rate enrollments, you as the agent must read the terms and conditions of the plan and get a verbal agreement from the beneficiary that states, I agree to those terms and conditions. You must also give the beneficiary their confirmation number verbally, and that must be captured on the rate recording. Please ensure that you're utilizing the enrollment script that's provided in the resources section of Ascend. You will need to cover the enrollment script in its entirety. Please also verbally give your beneficiary their confirmation number and encourage them to write that number down. So what happens if the rate telephone call gets disconnected? To be compliant, your beneficiary will need to call back into the rate line to complete the enrollment process, unfortunately. You as the agent can momentarily wait to see if your beneficiary calls you back, or you can contact them on your cell phone or your landline and just ask them to call you back at your designated rate telephone number that we assign to you. You may not complete the enrollment on your cell phone or the landline. It must be done through rate. You will have to start the enrollment process completely over, unfortunately, if it has elapsed time between the dropped call and when they call back in. Rate calls can happen any time of the day. Just make sure that you have scheduled a time for your beneficiary to call in on the rate line and that you have marked yourself as accepting calls within Ascend. Remember that rate is the compliant way to capture enrollments away from your beneficiary, and you must get verbal confirmation and agreements since they are not in person to sign. This concludes the rate functionality presentation. You are required to pass an additional quiz, and there's a training video that I've already provided Katie's team, and perhaps that's already been provided to you. We'll make sure you get that. But there is a Brain Shark training video you'll need to watch, and you'll take a quiz that's literally 4 or 5 questions, and it's pretty easy. You need to pass 90%. You have 2 chances to do that. So that's just the overview of the rate functionality. A lot of new good things coming in the way of it expanding to the Windows-based platforms. I know that was one hang-up with the Ascend rate tool, but it's gaining a lot of traction. Here's what the Ascend application looks like. You can have it on multiple devices. I'll just open this up and show you a new sandbox function here. So again, your username is your email address. I encourage you to click the sandbox mode if you're just in here playing around. So that's what I'll do. We're going to enter the sandbox mode, so we're not in a live environment. We can play around as much as we want, and it's not going to hurt a thing. This is what the home page looks like when you open up the program itself. Up here, if you can see this button, it's not going to give us the opportunity to go online since we're in a test environment, but this is where you would click to available to accept the rate phone call. Okay. Also important to read messages. It will not allow you to proceed unless you've confirmed all messages that may be important, such as a software upgrade or perhaps a new capability that we need to inform you about. Scope of appointment, there is a new option on here. It's a newer option where you can actually do a scope of appointment, not in a paper form. So we can just click on this. You can create a lead already, and we'll email the scope. You have to click on this right here. And all the same information that's being asked on a paper scope, you can just complete all of this and confirm all the information on the scope. It's going to want a cell phone number. You're going to hit submit. Let's pretend like I already entered everything in. Your client is going to receive an email. Since I did this beforehand, the client is going to receive an email that looks like this. So they're going to click on that link. It's going to open up a web page where the client basically confirms everything you've typed in from the comfort of your home computer. And there would normally be a green button where they hit confirm. This one's already been completed. And before they open this up, they're going to receive a 9-digit code that was texted to them by you as well, allowing them to complete that code and access this page for them to agree. Once they hit that acceptance green button that would normally be there, it will magically show up as being completed on your Ascend software. There's a lot of other capabilities you guys may be familiar with and may even be more knowledgeable than myself on some of these new things. You can actually search previous enrollments. One thing to note on that, when you do open up this, you'll need to scroll at the bottom and move it completely over to the right side to access all of the pertinent information. So you can print prior submissions for your records as well. Something else that we haven't talked to about a lot is the eKit functionality. eKit functionality is basically sending a link for the client, the prospective beneficiary, to complete the data entry screens themselves. This isn't my favorite option, guys, because it does really you would want to call them and walk through the process with them anyways. But in order for you to send an e-quote or an e-app, whatever you want to call it, email a quote, the e-kit, type in the zip code. It's kind of like Medicare.gov plan finder. Type in the zip code. It's going to identify which plan you would like to enroll.
Chad, I have a question real fast. That's from Cindy. She was asking if there is a remote voice scope of appointment, if it's like not sent by email, or if there's a way to get a scope of appointment by text.
We do have a telephonic scope process. It is found on Producer World.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I have never done it. It does require a lot of 10-key entry skills. It would be under the Tools tab. I can provide a separate document on that. I don't know where it's identified, but yes, there is a telephonic scope of appointment, and I'll provide that attachment for you to cascade
Awesome.
to everybody.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, the data entry screens that the client would complete for the eKit, it does require a little bit of technology aptitude, and we can actually just send a quote to the beneficiary. The eKit, this eQuote, whatever you want to call it, where you email the link for the member to complete, it is not eligible for the value-based enrollment. So that is one reason maybe why you wouldn't use this as a lead-in option. You would want to do the rate functionality to complete it over the phone. Okay. And just as a reminder, I mentioned value-based enrollment. And value-based enrollment goes hand in hand with the Ascend. And so I know value-based enrollment was not a topic of conversation, but it's important to know when this is available to be utilized. The value-based enrollment, as I referenced, is the VBE. It's a quick and easy process to gather health-related information for us as the health plan. It is not eligible for that eKit. But it is when you enroll a client in person using the Ascend, or if you use the rate functionality within the Ascend. Very simply, it's a health risk assessment phone call where you would click on a button and that would trigger a wellness advocate to contact the number that you've indicated to complete that 10 to 15 minute health risk assessment phone call. After you complete an enrollment, after the confirmation number comes up and you write that down, after you submitted the live enrollment, then this is where the value-based enrollment option would come up. You can connect me now, which the phone would ring in 10 minutes. We did get that fixed. It's no longer immediate. It will wait at least 10 minutes for you to leave the room and the residence so they can contact the beneficiary directly. And that's where we pay $50 of a service fee for Connect Me Now. You can also schedule a call back later if maybe tomorrow or some other time is better for them to contact the beneficiary. The schedule callback drop-down boxes would appear if you hit that button. We pay $25 for that. And unfortunately, if you're dealing with a client that does not want a phone call, we don't pay anything, and that's where you would decline that particular button. So that's just an overview of the value-based enrollment. You must use the Ascend to take advantage of that, and I do want to stress that the service fees that we pay are not filed as a commission, even though we do pay it in the same manner as a commission. So if you receive a commission directly from Aetna, you'll receive this service fee for doing this in the exact same manner. If you get your commission from an upline, just contact them and confirm whether or not you're eligible to receive value-based enrollment service fees. All right, clear as mud, everybody? That's the value-based enrollment process. The rate tool is available for anybody that has the Ascend license already. So if you have not requested that user license, the application itself is not available on the Apple Store, Apple App Store. It is something that, and that has caused some confusion. It is available on Producer World. So we certify and make sure your appointments in all the states and markets that you're eligible to sell in will auto-populate. It's not going to allow you to enroll somebody in a market that you're not appointed and ready to sell in. So that concludes my presentation. I am more than happy to go into additional Q&A, or if there's something else you'd like for me to demonstrate. I know enough to be dangerous. There are additional training videos out here as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. That was all super helpful. We're going to go ahead and open up this time. If you all have any questions for Chad, go ahead and put them in that questionnaire box. We'll go ahead and answer them. While I'm waiting on you guys to ask us some questions, I know I have a few questions, just kind of to clarify for myself. The first one I have is, so Ascend is the e-application. What is rate in comparison to what Ascend is? There two different things. What is rate?
Well, an e-application, I think, is kind of a general term, or at least in my mind it is. Email a quote, also known as e-kit. I wish we would make up our minds, but email a quote and emailing an e-kit is the same thing. That is very simply sending a link where we selected a plan and we send it to the customer for them to complete the enrollment on their computer. But since it was sent by the broker, that ties in the broker to get credit for the sale. So emailing a quote / e-kit, you're sending a link for the customer to complete, and that is not available for the value-based enrollment. So not as popular. Obviously, the main functionality of this tool, it was designed to enroll a client in person, but because of the remote environment that we're in, virtual environment that we're in today, we created that rate tool, which allows us to assign a toll-free number to your device and allows you to take that enrollment over the phone in a non-face-to-face format.
Awesome. That sounds so great. And I know that you said it, but I just want to double check just so that way people have it. You said that that will be available on window platforms in May?
In May, yes, that is the word that I'm getting. More details to come on that.
Perfect. Alrighty. And then I have one more question. Might be a little obvious, but I just want to double check. So Ascend is only an actual app that we're seeing. Is there a way to access it through the internet browser, anything like that, or is it only for a tablet?
It is for an iPad or Windows-based computers. So Chromebook, no. At this time, just iPad and Windows.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Let's see. We do have one person asking if this can be used for Medicare supplements. This is just MA and PDB, correct?
Correct. MAPD only. The Senior Supplemental Division has their own website and their own quote and enroll tool. I'm not trained on that, but it is a very easy to use program from what I see. So this is just MAPD and PDP is what we're talking about. You can enroll this tool for both of those. The value-based enrollment, that is only for Medicare Advantage plans, not the SilverScript PDPs.
Perfect. Okay. And then we have a few more questions. Is the presentation recorded on the rate tool?
Well, I believe you had indicated you were recording this presentation, and so you're welcome to send that out. And also, there are some BrainShark videos pertaining to rate that I will make sure that you get following this
Perfect. Okay.
presentation.
Perfect. Yeah. So this specific one, Cindy, we have recorded, but it sounds like there is some additional videos and stuff that you can probably have access to as well. And then let's see. Susan's asking, do you have to have internet access to enroll on Ascend in person? I would say probably so. Is that right, Chad?
Yes.
Perfect. Alrighty. Let's see. It doesn't look like we have any more questions rolling in. Let's see. Oh, okay. Cindy clarified. So she was asking the sales presentation to the client. Does it need to be done while on the rate phone call?
Nope, two different things. So the rate phone call would be very simply, you're just enrolling a client, enrolling the person. So presentation, you've already done that via phone call, via some other method, and you are simply just enrolling the prospect when you're using the Ascend. Now there are some sales videos on here. If you go into the resources tab, presentation materials, you could use this in front of a client, or I guess you could get creative and somehow conduct a Zoom webinar with a client and do the presentation that way as well. So yeah, sales videos are out here. Feel free to use those, but the tool itself is just an enrollment function.
Sure, perfect. Yeah, I think that we're all going to be Zoom pros by the time that this is all said and done. So that's good. Also, we do have a question asking, what if the client does not want to be recorded? That's probably something that's like not optional. Is that correct, Chad?
Right. You'll just have to respect their wishes and mail an application kit. I've heard of that happening more and more in this environment. Some folks are just wanting their paper to see, and mailing that enrollment back to the broker is perfectly acceptable as well. If there's a will, there's a way. So yeah, if they don't want to be recorded, the rate tool would not be a good compliant way to conduct the enrollment. There is one new thing that we just learned this week. If for whatever reason your Ascend program is not functioning, or you don't have the Ascend and you need to enroll somebody remotely, additional details I'll forward to you, Katie, as well. We have contracted with a call center where if you have already presented and you know the plan that a member is wanting to enroll in, you can give them a designated number that I'll provide to you. That member calls in, provides the broker's name, NPN number, and the contract number they're trying to enroll in, they would like to enroll in, and they'll complete that enrollment on behalf of the broker. There's not a value-based enrollment service fee eligible for that, obviously, since it's not done through Ascend. But that's another way we're trying to bend over backwards and come up with every strategy possible to help you brokers out in the field do what you're doing.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions. Thank you so much, Chad. We really appreciate your time and helping us out. This was some really awesome, good stuff. I know I learned a lot. I'm sure that they did as well. Everyone, please feel free to call in if to Senior Marketing Specialist. Our number is 800-689-2800. If you have any questions, we have a support team. That's happy to help you out with any questions that you may have. Also, again, I do want to say this is being recorded. This has been recorded. Let me go ahead and stop that right now, actually.